Darkness exposes the truth in ways daylight never can, because when lights are on, everyone knows how to hide behind smiles and pretty words. But when shadows take over, everything real starts to breathe. When the blackout hit, it didn't only turn the city dark, it turned every fake promise into something visible, like the night itself was quietly peeling layers from people's personalities. In light, she seemed caring, scared, attached. But in darkness, her real connections, her real attachments, her real priorities suddenly started showing without even trying. The moment the power went out, the moment the world slowed, every hidden thing began to speak, and the silence made those truths louder. We always think darkness hides things, but sometimes darkness reveals what light was constantly distracting us from. When everything suddenly stops working, phones die, electricity disappears, streets go empty, the world goes silent, your mind finally gets space to notice the contradictions, notice the delays, notice the messages people try to hide, notice the people who don't really care until they need something. The blackout forced the main character to step into an atmosphere where he couldn't ignore anything anymore. It's funny how when lights are off, excuses also stop glowing. The person you believed would stand with you was actually already standing with someone else, but daylight kept convincing you things were fine. When he entered her house, the darkness made him feel like he was finally close to her, but that same darkness brought a notification on her phone that lit up the entire room for a second, and in that 1 second flash, the whole illusion shattered. A tiny screen glow inside a blackout exposed months of secret conversations. Without electricity, there was nowhere to hide. There was no brightness to distract him. There were no activities to fill silence. There was only reality sitting in the same room. It's strange how sometimes darkness becomes a spotlight that shows every lie clearly. When she whispered on the call in another room, he felt an uneasiness he never allowed himself to feel during daylight, because darkness gives your instincts more power than your emotions. It makes your brain listen carefully to what your heart was trying to ignore. In total darkness, every vibration, every word, every hesitation becomes louder and clearer. When the city turned black, her lies turned visible, because fake love needs stage lights to look real, and when the lights disappear, so does its performance. Darkness didn't just remove electricity, it removed excuses. That's why this blackout wasn't only outside, it was inside, removing masks, showing intentions, and revealing a truth daylight kept beautifully hidden. Blind trust can destroy you because when you love someone, you naturally want to believe that whatever they say is true, and whatever they do comes from a genuine place. But real life doesn't always match the picture you paint inside your heart. The main character trusted her completely. He believed that if she called in fear during a blackout, she must truly need him. He believed that if she said she loved him, that love must be real. But blind trust is like walking in darkness without a flashlight. You keep moving forward thinking nothing will hurt you, and then suddenly you bump into a truth that breaks you from the inside. He didn't question anything when she used his phone. He didn't notice the hesitation in her voice, and he didn't think twice when she walked into another room pretending to call her parents. Love convinced him that doubt is wrong, and that trust should be unconditional. But unconditional trust is the most dangerous gift you can give someone who hasn't earned it. People think love grows stronger with trust, but actually trust must grow slowly with truth. When trust is given without testing, it becomes a weapon the other person can use against you. She knew he trusted her blindly, and maybe that made her feel safe enough to lie more easily. Sometimes people don't deserve the benefit of the doubt, but we keep giving it because we don't want to lose them. He kept believing her every word, just because he wanted her to be who he imagined. That's the painful part. We don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with what we hope they are. And that hope keeps us blind until something forces our eyes open. During that blackout, his trust walked ahead of him, but his reality stayed behind. When he saw that message notification, his heart didn't break because of betrayal alone. It broke because his trust suddenly fell from the highest point. Blind trust always falls harder than ordinary trust because it never expected to fall at all. He realized he was trusting her without reasons, without proof, without clarity, and she was taking advantage of that softness in his heart. When someone lies to you, it hurts, but when someone lies to you while you trust them blindly, It destroys you. The most painful part wasn't that she was talking to someone else. The painful part was that he never imagined she could. That innocence became his weakness. Blind trust makes you ignore red flags, ignore gut feelings, ignore tiny signs your brain tries to warn you about. Every time something felt strange, he convinced himself he was just overthinking, because trust tells you to stay quiet even when your instincts scream. If he questioned things earlier, maybe the truth would hurt less. But blind trust doesn't allow questions. It only allows hope until hope becomes impossible to hold. Phones reveal reality silently, because technology has a strange habit of showing exactly what people try to hide behind their words. And in moments of darkness, when everything else becomes invisible, one tiny notification becomes enough to expose something that was deep, secret, and carefully protected. When her screen lit up with that message during the blackout, it was almost like the darkness wanted him to see the truth. In normal daylight, he probably would have ignored her phone, or maybe she would have kept it face down, or maybe constant notifications would get lost in the noise of life. But in that silent blackout, that little glow became a spotlight exposing a reality that she never intended him to witness. She said her phone was dead, but it wasn't actually dead. It was only pretending, just like her feelings. Her silence broke the moment that notification appeared with the name baby, and suddenly everything started making sense. Every hesitation, every whispered call, every sudden need for privacy. Phones don't lie. People do. Technology doesn't hide feelings unless someone deliberately hides them. But even then, one careless moment is enough to expose an entire hidden world. That one message didn't just reveal another person. It revealed weeks, months, maybe years of conversations. A single text can carry the weight of every secret that someone thought they buried. The blackout removed all distractions and forced attention towards simple things, like how quickly she grabbed the phone, how nervous she looked, how she changed her tone, how she walked into another room to continue the conversation, thinking darkness would protect her secrets. But darkness actually highlighted them. The moment he saw those words popping on her screen, everything he trusted began to shake. Sometimes a phone screen shows more truth than someone's eyes ever will, because eyes can lie beautifully, but phones store realities exactly the way they are written. Even when she tried to explain, even when she said it was a cousin or a friend, every incoming call and message proved otherwise. Phones have memory, history, and timelines, and they quietly hold the proof of every emotion a person shares with someone else. The caller name baby wasn't just a name saved. It was a confession, a direct doorway into a part of her life she kept hidden from him. In that blackout, when networks were weak and lights were gone, her phone suddenly became the brightest source of truth. When she thought she was hiding her relationship in darkness, technology accidentally lit it up right in front of him. That tiny screen glow in a dark room became the loudest scream that she wasn't his. She never was, and she probably never planned to be. Phones don't tell the whole story, but sometimes one notification becomes enough to write an ending you never expected to read. Betrayal hits hardest in silence, because there's something uniquely painful about being hurt without noise, without arguments, without chaos. Just a quiet realization that crawls into your chest and stays there like a shadow nobody else can see. When she lied to his face in the dark room, she didn't shout or defend herself loudly. She simply whispered excuses, and somehow that silence made everything feel even more real, because loud lies can be argued with, but silent ones sink directly into the heart. He didn't scream. He didn't demand answers. He didn't even accuse her with anger. He just looked at her and realized the truth that was hiding behind every soft word she spoke. Silence became the judge, the witness, and the punishment all together. When betrayal happens quietly, it doesn't break the room. It breaks the inside of a person. He walked out without slamming the door, because sometimes leaving quietly hurts more than shouting. And she didn't run after him aggressively. She simply called his name in a tone that was half guilty and half afraid, and that soft voice made everything heavier. In that silent street, he finally understood that the real wound wasn't her message. It was the way she acted like nothing happened. Silence exposes how little someone cares, because if she truly cared, her panic would be louder than her lies. Betrayal in silence shows how practiced someone is at hurting you, how normal it is for them, how easy. When things fall apart quietly, It means they were never strong in the first place. In that blackout, there was no electricity, no light, no noise, but the silent distance between them kept growing. Silence has a way of making emotions echo louder. Every step he took away from her house felt heavier than the previous one. Every breath felt colder. Betrayal hits hardest when you don't know what to say back, when your heart is so shocked it forgets how to speak. It's the realization that every "I love you" might have been a doorway to someone else. Every plan for the future might have been a lie told only to keep you around until something better appeared. Silent betrayal teaches you that love doesn't break loudly like glass. It dissolves quietly like smoke, disappearing before you can even hold it. When he finally reached the empty road, the streets were still dark and quiet, but inside him thousands of thoughts were screaming. Silence outside, chaos inside. Nobody knew what was happening. Nobody heard his pain. Nobody saw his heart breaking. That is the cruelty of silent betrayal. The world keeps moving. The night keeps breathing, but you stop inside yourself. Silence doesn't just show betrayal. It forces you to feel every second of it without distraction. Darkness outside became manageable, but the darkness inside grew uncontrollably, proving that what kills us is not the loud pain, but the quiet one we never learned how to answer. Even though the entire city was plunged into darkness, the real darkness he experienced wasn't outside. It was inside, where trust once lived and love once felt safe. The blackout removed every streetlight, every lamp, every small glow that guided the city's people through their night. But those were minor compared to the emptiness he suddenly felt in his own heart. The streets could be navigated, the buildings could be traced by memory, but the betrayal he discovered inside that room could not be measured or avoided. Physical darkness is temporary. It has limits. It can be overcome with a flashlight or a candle. But emotional darkness stretches endlessly, creeping into every corner of your mind and making you question everything you once believed. That's what made this experience so crushing. The lights could come back at any moment, but the trust that had been destroyed in silence and shadows might never return. The irony is that he had thought surviving the blackout meant protecting himself from the dangers outside. But in reality, surviving meant navigating the hidden dangers of the human heart. He had stepped out into the night thinking his presence, his loyalty, and his love could provide safety. But safety is an illusion when the person you care for isn't honest with you. Darkness became more than an absence of light. It became a mirror reflecting the truth he had refused to see before. The moment the message popped up on her phone, the small glow exposed everything that daylight had masked. The lies, the secrets, the connections that weren't meant for him. The power outage was irrelevant compared to the blackout in his understanding of love and trust. Physical challenges could be faced with preparation, but emotional revelations hit when you least expect them, and they leave scars far deeper than any trip in the dark. He realized that real darkness is not measured by how black the night is or how far the city has fallen into a blackout. It is measured by how hollow a person feels when they learn that what they held onto so tightly was never real. Every step back to the empty streets outside felt heavier than the one before because he was walking not through shadows of buildings, but through shadows of deception. Each whisper, each feigned laugh, each casual smile that she had given him in the past now seemed tainted, replaced by the weight of what had actually been happening behind his back. He understood that while society fears the unknown and darkness, the most frightening unknown is the one that lives inside the people you trust. Even as he looked up at the darkened sky, the stars obscured by clouds, he realized that survival in the blackout had nothing to do with electricity or safety protocols. It had to do with facing the truth. You can survive without light. You can survive without water. You can survive without warmth. But surviving the collapse of your own perception of love is far more difficult. The city's lights could return tomorrow, but the knowledge of what had been hidden, the experience of being deceived, would remain with him. A permanent darkness that no candle could ever erase. Darkness outside is temporary, but darkness inside can linger, shaping your perspective, hardening your heart, and teaching you lessons you will never forget, forcing you to learn that sometimes the hardest survival isn't of the body, it's of the soul.